and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. And welcome back, my friends, to Secret Origins Month. Last year's look at a team book was not exactly pleasant. The origins of the X-Men depicted them as jackasses that all drooled over Jean Grey simply on the merit of her having breasts. However, this time I think we have ourselves a real treat. The origins of the Fantastic Four are an often repeated legend. Comic publisher Martin Goodman was supposedly having golf with either Jack Leibowitz or Irwin Donenfeld, both top executives at DC, and Goodman was told about how successful the Justice League of America book was doing. Immediately after the game, he got in touch with Stan Lee, then an editor at Marvel, and told him to create a superhero team book of their own. The story is pretty much considered nothing more than a legend, since Leibowitz and Donenfeld have denied ever playing golf with Martin Goodman, but there may be some grain of truth to it, since if he was playing golf with anybody, it would have been with one of the heads of Independent News, the distributors of DC Comics, and they would know about the sales figures of the books. Most likely it was just that Goodman had been paying enough attention to know how successful the Justice League was at the time, and told Stan Lee to create a team book. Lee decided to try something different with the book than most other superheroes at the time, and I quote, "For just this once, I would do the type of story I myself would enjoy reading, and the characters would be the kind of characters I could personally relate to. They'd be flesh and blood, they'd have their faults and foibles, they'd be fallible and feisty." Oh dear Lord, how I love alliteration. Inside their colorful, costumed booties, they'd still have feet of clay. Lee invented what became known as the Marvel method of writing comic books, which is sometimes still used today. He'd write up a synopsis of the story, pass it on to the artist, who'd draw the complete book, and then give it back to Lee to add in the dialogue. Mind you, with looser editorial standards in those days, the Marvel method could get a little weird. Sometimes the artist was drawing something with their own interpretation of the scene, and Lee went the complete opposite direction. I read once that Steve Ditko drew a scene featuring protesters and Spider-Man swinging overhead and shaking his fist. Ditko, an objectivist, intended it to be Spidey being angry and complaining about the protesters, but Lee instead wrote Spidey yelling in support of the protesters. Whoops. You can see this in some early X-Men stories too, where if you remove the dialogue, it can alter how the scene reads. As for the creative pair for this one, we can attribute the creation of the Fantastic Four to Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, creating a team that, at the time of this video, has reached its 50th anniversary. And what better way to celebrate that anniversary than by looking back at how they started and making fun of it. Let's dig into Fantastic Four number 1.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're not the smartest. Life out, you're not an artist. Anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he's a man punch, wears a party hat. Linkara, he has a magic gun. Where'd he purchase that? Linkara, coins, robots, Amazon and trucks. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
This is one of those iconic covers that's been spoofed and homaged dozens of times, and there's a reason for it. It does what a cover should do, and it draws the eye. It tells us a lot of information, albeit in a slightly clunky fashion because of the word balloons. Although this is a matter of opinion, since I'm not usually fond of dialogue on covers, but I know that there are people who like it. We have a giant green monster emerging from the ground as onlookers watch 4 people engage it in battle. I can't turn invisible fast enough. How can we stop this creature, Torch? Sue, he's holding you up in the air. I don't think becoming invisible faster is going to help your situation. It'll take more than ropes to keep Mr. Fantastic out of action. If that's the case, then why the hell are you laying on the ground? It'll take more than ropes to... Damn it! Keep Mr. Fantastic... This is worse than Christmas tree lights! Furthermore, it's a giant monster coming out of the ground. How the hell did you get tangled in ropes? We open on a page where people are looking up in the sky to see the Fantastic Four written in red on clouds. With the sudden fury of a thunderbolt, a flare is shot into the sky over Central City. 3 awesome words take form as if by magic, and a legend is born. Drink more Ovaltine. Look in the sky! What in blazes does it mean? I don't know, but the crowds are getting panicky. Rumors are flying about an alien invasion. Yes, an alien invasion preceded by words written in plain English with the message, The Fantastic Four. Do publicity stunts not exist in the Marvel Universe? I'd have sooner guessed that it was like promoting a circus or something. However, the source of the smoke signal is a man in shadows in a nearby building, who the narration claims is the leader of the Fantastic Four. It is the first time I have found it necessary to give the signal. I pray it will be the last. Who the hell am I talking to? Meanwhile, Susan Storm is having tea with another woman who spots the words in the sky. When the friend mentions them, Susan immediately turns invisible and runs out. It is time for the world to meet the Invisible Girl! And by meet, she means shoving 10 people out of her way while remaining invisible. Stand aside! I have no time to lose! You're invisible! They can't get out of your way if they don't know what way you're going! Also, you're a very rude jerk. She spots an empty cab and goes inside, the cab driver completely oblivious to the door opening. The driver just cruises around until Susan says she'll get out and gives him some money, all the while remaining completely invisible. Well, it's a good thing that she was invisible for that, because... Why did she need to be invisible for that? For crying out loud, you just got lucky that the cab driver was going in the direction you were going in. Turn visible, hail the cab, and he'll go straight to the spot. It's not like she was bumming a ride, she tries to pay the guy. Meanwhile, at a clothing store, Ben Grimm is trying to get some clothes while keeping his body concealed behind a heavy trench coat. I'm sorry, mister, I just don't carry anything big enough to fit a man your size. And thus, Men's Warehouse was born. I guarantee it. However, the clothing store owner spots the Fantastic Four signal and Ben Grimm strips down to his undies, revealing himself as the Thing. Don't know why he felt the need to take off his pants and shoes. Just check it out. This shot, pants and loafers. Then this shot, just the purple hot pants. Why must they build doorways so narrow? Yeah, the Thing hasn't quite gotten his Brooklyn accent and mannerisms down yet, so he actually speaks in a very sophisticated manner. However, I think it's funny to keep the accent while he talks like this, so enjoy. Some cops spot the Thing walking down the street and try to order him to stop, but when he doesn't say anything in return, like an idiot, they open fire. They miss, but he decides to not try to clobber them. He rips a manhole out of the ground along with part of the street and leaps down into the very clean sewers. He swims down the river of, well, sewer water, until arriving roughly around the right part. I have gone far enough. I should be under my destination by now, but there is no manhole above me, no opening. Bah! I cannot delay. I'll make an opening. I say, good chaps, that perhaps a manhole covering might be advisable at this location for poor fellows like myself who travel by way of sewage pipes, jolly good. A car crashes right into the Thing, but he's unscathed by it. Fool! Did you not see me in time? Start seeing things. Wait. The Thing just proceeds on his way with people running in fear of him, and in fairness, seeing him does build support for the alien invasion theory, not so much the words in the sky. The police are baffled by everything they've heard about, but enough of them. Let's cut to the final member of our foursome at a mechanic's garage. He and a friend spot the words in the sky, which now coalesce into a single number 4. Why? How? Well, instead of curing cancer, Reed Richards works on crap like this just to show off. Johnny Storm sees it and erupts into the Human Torch, destroying his own car in the process. You know, dude, you could have gotten out of the car before you did that, just saying. People spot the Human Torch flying through the air, and the National Guard is dispatched, including jets to intercept him. It is a flaming flying object! Let's get it, guys! Something we don't understand! Kill it! Don't know what the hell they plan to do, they just fly too close and their planes literally melt. They parachute out, though frankly if being that close to the Human Torch could melt steel, being that close in parachutes should make them burst into flames. However, he's then attacked by a heat-seeking missile that... The hell? It has a nuclear warhead! What? What nutjob fired a nuclear frickin' missile at him? For the love of crap, you don't know anything about this thing. It hasn't attacked anybody, and you must have fired the missile immediately after launching the jets, given how the dialogue proceeds. What, no concern about the jets? For that matter, what about the friggin' city underneath him? Hell, how did the National Guard get their hands on a nuclear missile? And get approval to fire it?
It just raises too many questions.
Anyway, Johnny turns off his flames, and Reed Richards stretches out his arms to catch the missile. Moving with dazzling speed, one of the incredible arms hurls the mighty missile far from shore, where it explodes harmlessly over the sea. Enjoy your radioactive fish, Central City! Reed catches the falling Johnny Storm and brings him in to meet the others, including the Thing, who's back to wearing the trench coat from before despite discarding it back in the clothing store. You all heeded my summons. Good. You all scared a lot of people, hurt a lot of people, and did millions of dollars in damages. Good. We cut to a flashback to learn the origins of this superhero team. Ben Grimm yells at Reed Richards. If you want to fly to the stars, then you pilot the ship. Count me out. You know we haven't done enough research into the effect of cosmic rays. They might kill us all out in space. Ben, we've got to take that chance. Unless we want the commies to beat us to it. The commies? What are you waiting for, you fools? Do you want the cosmic rays to kill them first? Sue calls him a coward, which is all Ben Grimm needed to be convinced. They race towards a spaceport just outside of town. Susan, Ben and I know what we're doing, but you and Johnny... Don't say it, Reed. I'm your fiancé. Where you go, I go. Yep, you have no purpose on this mission, so it's a good thing that this rocket ship is equipped with seating for 4. And I'm tagging along with Sis, so it's settled.
There is logic in what he says.
They sneak aboard the spaceship and blast off, despite the fact that they'd probably need massive assistance from Mission Control just to get off the ground, and there are probably safety checks to prevent some drunken idiot from getting aboard the ship, and why the spaceship was on the launch platform if they weren't going to launch anyway is anyone's guess, but whatever. Space! They enter a cosmic storm, and wouldn't you know it, cosmic rays are actually kind of dangerous, as they penetrate the craft and start mutating them, like Johnny Storm suddenly growing extremely hot, and Ben Grimm growing too heavy to lift himself. The ship's autopilot brings it back down to Earth, crashing them in a forest area, but bringing them down softly enough to allow them to survive it. I'm grateful we're all alive. It was mighty close. But Reed, we failed! After all your work, your dedication, we failed! And the mission was what exactly? Sue feels strange and starts turning invisible and back again. Ben yells at Reed about everything. Ben, I'm sick and tired of your insults, of your complaining. I didn't purposely cause our flight to fail. You purposely broke into a high-security facility, flew a spaceship that you knew hadn't completed testing with the cosmic rays without coordination and assistance from the ground. I'd say purposely or not, it pretty much is your fault, dude. Reed Richards, professional moron. Ben mutates into the Thing and continues fighting with Reed, who exhibits his stretching powers. Johnny transforms into the Human Torch and learns to fly because... setting yourself on fire makes you lighter than air, I guess, and the 4 consider what to do now. Listen to me, all of you. That means you too, Ben. We have more power than any humans have ever possessed. And with this power, we can conquer this puny planet! Nah, they decide to use their powers to help mankind, giving themselves superhero names. And so was born the Fantastic Four, and from that moment on, the world would never again be the same. No kidding. Apparently, according to many Marvel scholars, this is the point where the Marvel Universe officially began. Though why they ignore Captain America and Namor is anyone's guess. Oh, but we're not done yet. Nope, see, we've still got to deal with that monster from the cover. Reed called the four together, but what for? I called you together because I have some pictures to show you. Pictures? What are they, pin-ups? Well, yes. You see, with my new stretching powers, I decided to try out for Playgirl and, well, feast your eyes on this. No, actually, it's photos of a nuclear power plant behind the Iron Curtain that looks like it's fallen into a hole in the ground. There are other photos of similar atomic plants across the world where the same thing has been happening. Reed's machinery picks up another occurrence of seismic activity, and we cut to French Africa, where an installation collapses into the ground and a giant monster emerges from the earth. Artillery! Bring the artillery! Hurry, hurry! Artillery? Of what use is artillery against a creature whose hide is powerful enough to dig its way up through countless tons of rock-hard earth? Well, excusez-moi, Mr. Fancy Narrator Pants, if I'm not thinking quickly enough about the giant monster that's attacking! Why don't you go make yourself useful, you who smells of unprocessed cheese, instead of criticizing us? Sacre bleu! A shrill voice commands the monster to return to the earth. For even such a monster heeds its master, a master known as the Mole Man.
Cowabunga, dudes.
Meanwhile, Reed determines that there's an island equally distant from every single one of the attack sites. It is known as Monster Isle. Monster Isle? That's just a fairy tale. There's no such place. Somewhere, Godzilla is shaking its fist in anger. Also, how the hell does Reed know that this is Monster Isle? For all they know, this is Skull Island, or Candy Apple Island, or the Island of Death. Anyway, they take their private jet to the island and discover Ghidra. Yeah, this is Monster Island. They manage to confuse Ghidra, and Reed lassos his arm around it and hurls it into the sea. I had heard there was a giant three-headed creature guarding this isle. Heard from who? Just how well known is this place? But he shall guard it no longer. Yeah, I'm sure living on an island means it's incapable of swimming. And that it can't fly, what with those wings we saw it had. Reed, your reputation as a genius just seems to keep plummeting, man. Anyway, the ground collapses and Johnny and Reed fall into a pit, discovering a blinding light that knocks them out. When they come to, they're wearing protective clothes that shield them from the light. The reason you cannot see is you are blinded by the glare from the Valley of Diamonds. And as for me, I am the Mole Man.
This is Mole Man in the morning. Good Mole Man to you. Today, part 4 of our series of the agonizing pain in which I live every day.
It's apparently necessary for a 25-page comic to be split into chapters, so we've just entered The Mole Man's Secret.
Drinking has ruined my life. I'm 31 years old.
Sue and the Thing are attacked by another creature, and the Thing easily dispatches it, hurling it into the water as well. I guess water is just the natural enemy to all these monsters. Now let's go and find that skinny, loudmouthed boyfriend of yours. Oh, Ben, if only you could stop hating Reed for what happened to you. So what if he's responsible for ensuring that you will never have a normal life ever again? Boo-hoo, we've all got problems. In the depths of the island, the Mole Man explains that soon he will take over the world and explains how he came to be here. It all started long ago, because the people of the surface world mocked me. What? Me go out with you? Don't make me laugh. I know you're qualified, but you can't work here. You'd scare our other employees away. Hey, is that your face or are you wearing a mask? Ha ha!
No one's gay for Mole Man.
He finally could not stand it any longer and searched for the legendary land at the center of the earth. A world where I could be king. Yes, it's a well-known fact that only ugly people live at the center of the earth, and thus the ugliest is king. He discovered Monster Island and the caverns within it. Down there, below, I found it. It's Earth's center. Dude, I think you may need to go a little deeper down than a cave. Like where it would be physically impossible for you to follow unless you wanted your body to be pulverized into atoms by the pressure. Also, molten core. His yelling caused a cave-in, and he fell deeper, and the impact had apparently, caused blindness. Or, you know, he was in a deep, dark cavern without a flashlight. I don't think you impaled your eyes, dude. There just wasn't any light. Somehow he managed to take control of the monsters of the island, and he created an underground empire. So, when did he get the 3D glasses, then? And the big throne room with statues and crap. Did the monsters do that? A note of madness creeps into the mole's voice as he speaks of his power.
You call that a knife? This is a knife. Ooh, down I go. Ooh.
Anyway, his senses have been enhanced after being in the dark for so long, and he challenges them to a fight, evading attacks and hitting them back easily. I've got to admit, it's actually a pretty neat demonstration of how the Mole Man can be a villain who you could take seriously as a threat. But that falls apart because he decides to brag about his master plan, using a series of tunnels to wreck every power plant in the world and then invade with an army of mole people. I could go into the logistics of just how many power plants he'd need to take out, or questioning what happens to the nuclear reactors he's burying in dirt, but instead I'll just focus on the fact that his army of mole people probably is not equipped with guns, which we have in abundance even in the 60s. Thus, the Mole-Human War of 1962 will probably just end in a big pile of mole meat. Somehow, Sue and the Thing have found their way down to the caverns, without the need of protective clothing, and they engage the large green creature, the largest and most deadly of his underground creatures. The Fantastic Four do their job, with Johnny distracting the monster, while Reed grabs hold of the Mole Man and they make a run for it. Mole Man summons more of his creatures, and they come, like figments of a mad nightmare, roaring, running, snarling, the Mole Man's entire army of underground gargoyles.
There is no escape from the fortress of the moles.
Damn, if only we had an Office Max down here, then we could deal with those creatures! However, the Human Torch heats up a lot of the cave, causing a rock slide that buries most of them. I guess that somehow completely destroys his network of tunnels. I don't know, it's not very clear. And they run for their jet. However, Reed says he left the Mole Man behind since he'll never trouble anyone again. Meaning he either choked the guy or was too stupid to realize that if he could build that tunnel network that quickly, he could probably do it again. And then the island explodes. He's destroyed the entire isle. He sealed himself below. Forever. How? Why? And so our comic ends with Reed Richards remarking on the whole thing. It's best that way. There was no place for him in our world. Perhaps he'll find peace down there. I hope so. Yes, there is no place in our world for unattractive people. You are all doomed to life as mutant mole people. This comic, I've got to admit, I'm not quite sure how to feel about this one. On one hand, structurally, this is a really damn good origin story, establishing the characters, interpersonal relationships, and giving us how they got their powers, while simultaneously giving us an intriguing mystery and adventure. On the other hand, wow, the science is all over the place. Plus, kind of an anticlimax, especially since the four barely fight the big monster as promised. The dialogue is weird, par for the course for the Silver Age, but it's a lot of fun in its complete goofiness. And as such, it's easy to see why the Fantastic Four became so popular, with genuine pathos for the Thing situation, plus just fun superhero action.
They got hit by cosmic rays, and the four will change forever. It's the most fantastic
I was going to check on my new body when I realized it was gone. I thought you had taken it early to work on, but Nimue told me you hadn't touched it.
And the intruder alarms didn't go off. Well, I'll be damned.
What? What is it?
I'm detecting a residual anti-gravity trace, the same kind of tech we use for your hover skirt. I'd say your new body left on its own.
But how? There was no programming in it yet.
I'm detecting another particle trace. You know, it's funny, it's actually similar to the entities, but the particles aren't decaying as rapidly, and the mass and volume don't shift as much. And the trace is leading back to Mechakara's hand.
Do you think?
Yes, I do.
But how?
Mechakara was using my magic coin when we last fought. Who knows what kind of powers it could have given him, or what he could have transformed into. Just waiting for the right opportunity to strike.
And seeing as he despised the human form, it only makes sense that he'd go for one closer to how he originally looked.
Warn everybody. I'll start looking into new items to add to the Arsenal of Freedom and increasing the power on the stuff we already have. He's alone, and the defensive systems on that body are limited right now. We've defeated him before, and we'll do it again. And the trace is leading back to Mechakara's hand. It's alright.